Hey everybody, just a quick demonstration of my current progress on refactoring a tool I built a while ago. It's a path spline tool and some geometry generation. So I'm going to go ahead and just create a path. You'll see the component by default has two options to create a new path. You can also load a path if there is a path existing, nothing existing at the moment. So I'm going to say create path. You can choose how many points you want in the path. They will be placed around the origin, the game object, and also the edge length. So I'm going to leave it on default. Let's give this a name. There you go. So you can obviously move this path around by the transform handle, but if you want to edit the points of the path, you need to click enable edit, and then there you can see it's created these handles. These handles are not Unity's default handles, but they are game objects of my own. The reason for this is that Unity handles do not support multi-select, and mine do, so I can click this and hold down shift and click that, and hold down shift again. You can see I can multi-select, and they all work together, they'll move. You can also box select, so if I had to do that, you'll see that works as well. So when you click on a handle, you'll see that it will tell you what the index for the handle is and its position. There's a few other options. For example, you can add a split modifier or a bevel modifier, so let's just add a split to that. You can see there's two normals on this corner now. Let's add a bevel onto this here. Set the radius. There's some options here, like you can mirror this, so it will look like that. You can invert the radius, so it looks like that, and of course you can also mirror the inverted radius, it will look like that. You can add a split modifier onto this, it will just split these edges here as well. So if I had to add a split, you'll see that it's splitting where this is joining here. You can subdivide the edge, and that goes from the point to the next point. So if I had to subdivide this edge, you'll see I'll get this point here. And currently the units I'm using are inches. You'll see there's a global options here where you can stipulate millimeters or inches, and you can change the normal size, and also some of the colors for the drawing options of the spline, like the normals and the handle colors, etc. So there's another button here you can see, which is to create your geometry from your path, which is create a polygon. You can also duplicate a path. This will duplicate the data source that this path is using, and if you create an instance, it will create a new game object and a new spline component, but it will point to the same data object that this path is currently pointing to. So I'm going to go ahead and say create polygon PP just for example. You'll see a new game object created, and there's a component here with a few options: scale to UV balance and center island, and some additional UV scaling, etc. And if you can also extrude the geometry, and you can choose how the extrusion UV is handled, if it's inset or outset, or if it's straightened. So I'll go ahead and I'll build this. Great, so I'll just give it some default material, and I'm going to export this as OBJ, and let's use this option here. Open up Blender. I'll just import it and have a look how the UVs look. As you can see there, there are UVs for object. Okay, great. I'm going to go out here again. Let's go back to Unity. So, if you see the path is not highlighted. When it's highlighted, the handles show. If it's not highlighted, it won't show the handles. Okay, well, I'm going to go to this and actually just remove this bevel and remove the split. I'm going to delete that point there. I'm going to remove the split there. Now we've just got our let me delete the shape, which is geometry we created. So we're just looking at our path, and I'm going to set up the size for doing like a pinball playfield, which is quite big. It's 20.25 inches by 46 inches. So if I go over here, I'm just going to set this to 0, 0. I'm going to set this to 20.25, 0, 0 and 46 inches. And the last one, 20.25 and 46. Also the component here for focusing our object. So there we've got our object focused. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create some geometry from this. I don't want to center the island, I want it to be from the bottom left, but I do want it to scale to bounds. Also the texture that I have a predefined texture for this, and it is a 1:2, not a 1:1 ratio. So to handle that, I set a UV scaling of 0.5 in the X direction, in the U direction, and let's build that. Okay, great. I'll set my predefined material. You can see there's our options there. Okay, let's create another path. I'll leave it on 4. Let's call it light template 1. Great, I'm going to move this up to here. I'm going to enable the edit of the points. I'm going to scale them. I'll hold down S. When you do scaling, or if you flip on the vertical or horizontal, if you rotate, you'll see that you have a manipulation origin, and it is by default on selection center, but you can use the spline center or the first selected or the period position for this. Set a bevel modifier onto this corner, set it to 0.1 perhaps. Do the same here. And the last one. So there we go. So I want to do one for this light here. So what I will do is I will create an instance first of all. Let's move that up here. I can rotate the game object, but if I rotate the points, it will rotate the points of this path here since they're pointed to the data source. So I'll just do the game object for now. Let's rotate it like to there. Okay, we need to scale it. I won't scale the game object, I want to scale the points. But to do that, I want to click duplicate so I can have a new data source. We'll call it light template 2. Okay, great. Let's say enable edit, and let's select these, scale them up. This slightly into place. Okay, great. Viewed like this, so you can see there's our two objects. I'm going to do another one here, and for this example, I'm going to create an instance. And I'm just going to move this to some arbitrary position. I want to rotate the points now, so it'll be different here, just to give an example. So I need to duplicate the data source. Got light template 3, enable edit, and instead of moving the game object now, I'm actually just going to move the points. Let's move it like to over there. Let's click rotate, and rotate those sort of into place. We'll Unity, look at these down. So as you can see, this has an origin over here, and the points are rotated, and the previous one, origin is at the center, but it is a rotated object, and the spline points are going around here. And this is kind of the same. So from this, obviously for each of these objects you can create geometry for it and choose the same options where it will center the UVs or scale them into UV bounds. But I have another option. When you create a polygon PP, there's an option to say you select a reference polygon for the UVs, and that's what I want to do now. But I don't want to do them each individually, so I created a component that you can set this as a collection in a game object, and then you can have it run on all of them. They will all be created, and then but individually they'll have a polygon PP as assigned to them, and then you can edit them individually afterwards. It's just for bulk building, so you don't have to do each one on its own. So I'm just creating a game object. Let's call this spline collection. Great. I'm going to move these three splines into there. Let's give this a name. Give this one a name. This one lastly. Okay, great. Okay, let's create another game object, and we'll use this. We'll call it into my geometry tab, and there's my game object for my collection. Right, sorry. Okay, there we go. So as you can see, I can set the collection, which I will do right now. So let's set the collection, and for the reference, I want the playfield object that I created. So I'm going to set that as the reference. Okay, great. I'm going to say build. And you'll see there's created a game object called polygon PP collection, and the inside here is each of these objects. They don't have a material assigned to them, so I'm just going to assign the same material for the playfield. And let's just move them up slightly so you can see how they were created. There's that one there, there's that one there, there's that one there, which are exactly mapped to the UV space, and they expect regardless of the rotation of the points or the origin and rotation of the game object. I do have an additional option. If you say now, like on this object here, you can also choose to edit UVs. It's not as strong as, you know, obviously using a dedicated 3D app, but it's a nice to have. So if I say edit UV for this, I'll edit, create a new scene. I'm just going to overwrite that scene currently. You'll see in this new scene I have a texture object, so from this I want to rebuild my playfield again. So I'm just going to set the playfield material again, and choose a shader slot, so main text there, say build. So there we go. Our UV object is in a 1:1 ratio, so you scale it to 0.5. Set focus on it. Okay, great. There you can see. For say enable edit, you can see there are the points there. I can work on these, and they will obviously adjust to UV. So if I didn't want to include the black edge on that, so I scale it in to over there. Let's just open the original scene. I don't need to save that scene at all. You'll see that the UVs have been adjusted. It was mapped originally with that, but it now has this new UV. So that was just an example. Obviously they want that, so I can just build this again individually. It was built as part of the collection, but you can do it on its own fine, and it will just rebuild it, which is great. Also, if you want to extrude, you can do so. So let's say I say 0.04, I say build. You'll see that it has extruded this, and the UVs are inset, so they wrap around the corners quite nicely. As you can see, I use that for doing plastics on pinball playfields. The lights won't be extruded, but normally plastics are. But it's a good example of the tool and my current progress. I hope you like it. Cheers.